your first question may be answered later on. Regarding the second question, how many people did die? Well,
In that building?
in that building,
Yeah.
all we can say for sure is nobody died during the collapse itself. It's still questionable. Please, it's still questionable if there were anybody killed in the morning, actually, because it's a little diffuse what went on in the morning. But nobody was killed during the collapse. The building had been evacuated already at 10 o'clock. All the office workers were out at 10 o'clock, and the last firefighter left the building at 11:30. Somebody went later on to pick up somebody who was trapped. But basically, the building was empty from 11:30 and onwards. Now, down here, let's see. The report on Building 7 was repeatedly postponed. Every half year, NIST said it will come out in half a year, until the fall of 2008, when they could not hold it back any further. So the preliminary version was presented to the public in August and open for comment. Only 2 weeks we had to comment on this, which is very little notice, particularly in August when everybody's on vacation. It was probably deliberate. But the final version came in October 2008. And this is what we have to relate to the rest of the first half of my presentation tonight. This is the official account of how Building 7 collapsed, the NIST report. Here is the front page of the NIST report. It is not so difficult to read if you have any technical flavor at all. So I would highly recommend it. This is the real information. The two main conclusions in the NIST report. First one is negative, that the structural damage of World Trade Center 7 was minor and was not decisive. And this should be mentioned because in the meantime, many people have believed or have been told that the collapse of the North Tower was simply completely wrecked Building 7. So it was prone to collapse due to the mechanical impact from the North Tower falling. Now NIST eliminates this possibility. So we don't have to look closer into that. But just as a little let me tell you that it was a maximum 7 out of the 57 perimeter columns which were damaged due to the collapse of the North Tower. Now, NIST says that Building 7 collapsed primarily due to conventional office fires. And this is a daring proposition because prior to this date it has not happened, and neither has it happened afterwards, that a steel frame high-riser had collapsed due to fire. And, well, we could stop here and take a break, because this is enough, actually, to put a huge question mark on this conclusion. But I'll draw you through some of the evidence that NIST is trying to present in order to support this hypothesis. There has been many reports of fires in steel frame high-rises. Just to mention a few. 1991, Philadelphia. It races for 18 hours, cleared 8 floors, the building remained standing. 1988, Los Angeles. There's actually a fire going on here, as you'll recognize, out of control for 3.5 hours. I have read the summary of the fire report myself and can conclude and can report from that there was no damage to the main structural members. All recent fires, the Persian Gulf, 2006, there is a fire going on here. The building remains standing. Venezuela, Caracas, 2004, it raged for 17 hours and 26 stories. The building remains standing. So NIST is really having a hard time here because they have to support that something was happening which has never happened before. This is very difficult in natural science. Now, quote from the NIST report. They say, the collapse of World Trade Center 1, this is a North Tower, ignited fires on at least 10 floors, which burned out of control on floors 7, 8, 9, and 11, 12, 13. Now, I have put this mark of expression after out of control, because the reason why these fires, which you'll see in a little short while, burned out of control, was that nobody controlled them. There was no attempt to putting out these fires, which you'll see here. Another quote from the report. By 1 o'clock, there was no visual evidence that the small early fires on floors 19, 22, 29, and 30 were still burning. That means that out of the 10 floors burning here, we do not have to bother about these upper floor fires. There are only 6 floors left to care about, to bother, because there are still, at 1 o'clock, there are still more than 4 hours to go before the building collapses. So let's take a look on these 3 floors. Yes, please. Shall we reset the projector needs reset once in a while to prevent it from going down on its own. Great. So it works. Wonderful. Thank you. Now so from the NIST report, NIST had meticulously made an account of actually they've written a log on every window in this building. So guessing on the temperatures was going on behind. So you can go in and see very accurately what all the observations were. I've done this. You don't have to remember this. But just to give you an impression that this is actually a very solid room. So like on the 7th floor, fires were observed from 2 o'clock to 3:15, and from 4:15 to 20 minutes past 4, etc., all the way down. The only thing which should be noticed here, the only floor which will be important here, is what was occurring on the 12th floor, where fire was observed from 8 minutes past 2 to 2:30, and then burst was observed on and off until the building eventually collapsed 20 minutes past 5. Now please notice that none of these floors there were fires observed prior to 2 o'clock. And as you recall, all the fires on the upper floors were gone out at 1 o'clock. So between 1 and 2, there were no fires observed in the building according to the official report. And why it started burning again on these 6 floors, we do not know. Let's take a look. Actually, the first picture I show you is from one of the early fires. And this is the southwest corner of the building. And I show this because this is the only documentation of that something was going on the south side at all. Also, I introduced this numbering which refers to the floors. So this is 28th floor. We can see here on the 29th floor there had been fires going on in here, but they've gone out this time because office fire only lasts 20 minutes. Then it has to proceed to the next office or it dies. But here there's still something, and it's still burning in here on the 29th floor. On the 30th floor on the corner, definitely something's going on. It's gone out, it's gone in. And here and eventually here we're still burning. But there's still 5 hours to go before the building collapses. So it's more interesting what's going on in the afternoon. This is the other side of the building, actually the east side of the building. And these floors up here are the 11th, 12th, 13th floor. What you see here is a close-up of these fires. On the 11th and the 12th floor, it's burning. So this is the southeast corner. We'll return to that a few hours later. The small numbers refer to the numbering of the perimeter columns behind the facade. So when you're referring to a specific floor in the perimeter column, you have a very convenient coordinate system for the whole surface, outer part of the building. But you know exactly where you are when you're giving the floor and the number in the perimeter column. This was a little bit before 3. A little later, this is the north side. We'll see on the fire here on the 12th floor. Okay, on the 7th floor, there's also a fire here. A little later, we don't know exactly what, but it must be a little later because we'll see the fire on the 12th floor has moved to the west and widened somewhat. This is the fire on the 7th floor, and the satellite fire is appearing here